Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Alon, are you a big April Fool's Day guy?
When I was younger, definitely, like in high school, for sure. I thought April Fool's was pretty funny, but now it's literally you open up Twitter and you see a bunch of crap and you're like,
Yeah,
what
dude.
the? Like, I saw one from the Las Vegas Aviators today and I woke up and I saw it and it said, oh, they're planning to put a retractable roof and a big renovation on the stadium in Summerlin. And I went, what the hell? And I went, wait a sec, it's April Fool's. And then I saw the Raiders put out this big long
Yeah, I saw that too.
That wasn't great. No, not in terms of sports journalism, not into it.
Well, I don't mind the sports journalism aspect of it where it's like gotcha. Like, I don't mind that stuff. Like, I remember years ago, one of our program directors told us just because it's April Fool's doesn't mean that you get to go on the mic and say incorrect things. And I'm like, that's not what we're doing, though. We're having fun.
Yeah.
Like for years, my dad used to have fun with it and said like, "Oh, you can believe the Miami Dolphins just traded for the first overall pick when the Cincinnati Bengals had it or something like that." Or for years, PTI, pardon the interruption, Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon would always come up with these elaborate, weird stories to lead off April Fool's Day. Like I remember one year when it was Davidson and Steph Curry making their run in the final in the NCAA tournament. They had like this weird story where they were going to play the last 12 seconds of a game because someone missed a foul.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was good creative shit. Now, because Twitter and social media has just been taken over by AI bullshit, that every day's April Fool's Day. Like we're tricked on most things. So yeah, the Raiders stuff today, that was convoluted. Like they put out a whole press release where it was wordy and saying we're going to get back to commitment of excellence. You think they're going to like reveal some big thing where at the end they say we're going to finally get to the bottom of our, I guess like they have some signage at the end of their press releases. People noticed this when the Max Crosby news came out where the trade was rescinded. They have something in like the lower right-hand corner where one of their symbols is circled. So they acknowledge that in the post. There's a lot of dumb shit today. I don't mind the like the fooling nature of April Fool's Day. I just think that it's not as unique as it used to be when I was younger. I used to love to play pranks on my friends and my mom and my dad. I remember one year I found a way to like where I can send out Adam Schefter tweets, and I sent a thing to my dad saying, it looks like he's announcing that Jimmy Garoppolo is being traded. And the thing that my dad would do is he would say, that's not funny, or you didn't fool me. And then he would take what my trick was and use on other people, which was pretty annoying and lame, if you ask me.
That's comedy thievery right there.
I would say so.
I love that too. That he goes, hey, that's not funny. That's not funny. And then he goes,
that's not funny at all, Derek. But I'm going to use that on John Lund.
And then John Lund probably loved it.
John Lund,
because it is funny.
Well, John Lund would be the consummate pro. He'd be like, "Oh, you got me, Greg." When he realized, like, not the case whatsoever. Yeah, it's kind of lame. Like April Fool's Day used to be something funny where you go to a class. And again, I haven't been in school in quite some time, but playing tricks on your teacher or your other classmates. And now it kind of feels like we're in a very sensitive world now where you can't do pranks on each other.
Yeah, I don't know. That could be definitely the case. I just remember back in the day, like being in school as a kid, it was definitely funny. And the teachers knew it. They were ready for it. They were ready for us all to act like huge, complete jackasses. Not bad. Just jackasses.
Yeah, and we could be jackasses of the week when it comes to our pranks, but it's not the same anymore. And you know what? As I get older, I just kind of like, I really don't have the creativity or the energy to do April Fool's Day pranks anymore, which is extremely sad because they used to be a big part of my personality. But alas, we're all getting older.
We hit a speaker one day, Derek, and you know what? This wasn't on April Fool's Day, but we probably should have waited for it. We hit it like, those old crappy like school buildings that have like it's the kind of like ceiling, like office ceiling that you can like slide it over, put something up there and then slide the panel back. Yeah. So we hit like a little speaker or something up there and then played like this annoying, like white noise that the teacher could hear of just ad nauseum, right? Just on a loop. And she was just like, what is that? What is that? We're like, what are you talking about? For like 20 minutes, gaslit her into thinking that she was hearing something and that we couldn't hear it. It was so good.
Those are the
Probably
best.
drove her nuts. Well, it did drive her nuts, but yeah, that's the kind of good, clean fun you can get into. Stink bombs. There's all kinds of good stuff you can still do.
There's one prank I did play on my buddy Jamie, which in hindsight I was like, that could have gone south pretty fast. So I don't think it was April Fool's Day, but I saw my buddy Jamie right outside our apartment complex. We were roommates together, and he stopped at a stoplight, and I was like, I'm gonna play a prank on him. And when I describe this, you're gonna think like, Derek, you're a terrible person. I put my 2 fingers together, put on the back of his neck, and said, "Don't you fucking move!" And almost like I was carjacking him. And he knew it was me right away. But he goes, "God damn it, Derek! I could have just put my foot on the gas right now and like run you over. Like Jesus." I thought that was a terrible prank.
That's pretty good. Were you in the back seat?
I didn't go to the back seat. I just like went straight to the window of the driver's seat and put my 2 fingers in the back of his neck, and that could have gone south very bad.
That's very good. No, yeah, you know what? That could have gone south, but it didn't. So funny.
Yeah, it's harmless fun in the end. Just your opinion, man. Along to say, Derek Papa, we're coming to you on a Wednesday night. Going to be a heavy football night as we get into a lot of stuff that went down at the league meetings, the owners' meetings, whatever you want to call them, with all of the 32 teams getting together. What's something fun that everybody does this time of year? And me and Steven used to do it. Is they pull up the picture of all the coaches getting together or the GMs, and I feel like that's been done so much. Like the biggest thing that I think people are taking away from this group is the outfit that Nick Sirianni wore. Like people are calling him a chud, and I'm like, hey, dude, people stop being so mean. Like people give Nick Sirianni shit, but I'm like, just because of what he's wearing and he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, I don't think that's fair. The only thing, like, I'm kind of over the whole thing of like who's sitting with who. Like, yeah, Kyle Shanahan was sitting next to Robert Saleh. You definitely had Ben Johnson and Mike LaFleur just spaced out from each other. Yeah. But, or is it Matt LaFleur? God, I'm confusing them all the time. Matt LaFleur's with the Green Bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
I keep fucking up that name now. The big thing that came away from the coach's photo from the league meetings is Sean McVay was not there. Couldn't be found. He was too busy doing interviews, and man, he definitely made the rounds doing interviews. So they moved up, I guess, the picture time, the photo time, and he was late for that. And then the funniest thing to me was Todd Monken, his first year as head coach in the NFL, is not part of the photo. You know why? Because he was getting a haircut. He's getting a haircut for the photo, missed out because they moved the photo up.
Can they not like get all these people on the same page? It can't be that hard. Whoever's taking this photo, they're all in the same building at roughly the same time. They could have pushed the photo back. I mean, apparently
it's a pain in the ass to get all 32 coaches on the same page with each other.
Well, I believe that part, but
yeah.
Come on, some PR person's got to be like, come on, guys, come on, fellas, we got to take this photo. I agree with you about the whole. It's kind of been beaten into the ground, you know, like a horse. So. Rich Eisen's been doing it for years, and I watched it. I of course watched his bit on it because I always do. I loved, and he pointed it out, but I love Liam Cohen in the photo so much with the sunglasses.
Yeah.
Not wearing the same kind of outfit that everybody else is. And right next to him is Mike McCarthy. And the first time I saw the photo, and especially if you zoom in on it, it looks like Mike McCarthy's photoshopped in. He's like not online with everybody else. He's slightly postured behind Cohen and the other coach that's next to him. So I'm like, at first when I looked at it, I was like, did they Photoshop McCarthy? And I was, no, they didn't. He's just kind of standing off center a little bit. I noticed that. And then also I noticed Clint Kubiak, who's way off in the corner.
Right.
And almost shifted, not even looking towards the camera, at least with his body. And he's just kind of looking at the camera like, why am I here? Not in terms of, I can't believe I'm a head coach, but why are we doing this? So maybe that's the general attitude of all these guys. Last thing I will say, Robert Saleh continues to get more and more jacked every year.
Yeah, I mean, dude, amongst like the bunch, him, Dan Campbell, D'Amico Ryans, they're all guys you don't want to like, you know, when it comes to like which coaches can like kick each other's asses, it's those two guys at the top of the list. Yeah, I'm looking at the photo right now. Liam Cohen looking like hard with his glasses. Like, next time I see Robert Sala, he's not going to fuck with me. Yeah, Mike McCarthy looks like he's photoshopped. Joe Brady looks huge compared to Mike LaFleur and Kevin Stefanski. He looks like God. He looks like he just like overpowers those guys, or like is such an intimidating presence compared to those two guys. And then yeah, Nick Sirianni at the end there, kind of not a flattering shirt, but whatever. Yeah, you can see that Tom Munkin's not there. You can see that Sean McVay's not there. But yeah, every year the usual guys go through this. Kyle Brandt, or as you said, Rich Eisen. Back in the day, my guys Guy Haberman and John Middlecoff would go through the coaches' photos at the owners' meeting. So we don't need to do that, in depth tonight. But it's always a fun thing when the coaches get together. But we are talking about some of the rule changes that are happening in the NFL this year. We'll talk about some news that's coming out from the league meetings. But I want to start with Fernando Mendoza's pro day at Indiana. And I watched a little bit of it today before I left for work. And it's so hard to kind of gauge how quarterbacks perform in pro days. Like they definitely carry more weight than what happens at the combine now, because if you're a top prospect, no one throws at the combine anymore. So this is the last chance to see, the top guys throw. And unless you're Jamarcus Russell or Caleb Williams or Trevor Lawrence, and you're like a physical freak, I don't really know what can be gained by a quarterback at a pro day. Like, I always hear that Jamarcus Russell had the best pro day of all time, and Mike Mayock says that all the time, where he literally could throw from his knees at the 50 and threw the ball out of the stadium. And just how he had a rifle of an arm. Same thing with Caleb Williams. Same thing with Trevor Lawrence. And then you hear, I remember, God, was it Teddy Bridgewater who had a bad pro day? Also, Johnny Manziel had a terrible one as well.
Manziel did, yeah.
Yeah. Fernando Mendoza's today was fine. Like, I didn't really think anything more of Fernando Mendoza or anything less. I thought that it proved that he had the arm strength. Again, he doesn't have like a rifle for an arm, but it showed that it's not all just based on the scheme of the RPO system that Kurt Signetti, or I should say Mike Shanahan, the other Mike Shanahan as his offensive coordinator, have in Indiana. I thought it was, a lot of his receivers, dropped some balls there with Omar Cooper and all the other Indiana wide receivers, but he showed his pinpoint accuracy. He showed that he can do the intermediate stuff. He showed that he can do like any type of throw you want on the football field. So, and it's clear that he's QB1, the way that he kind of conducts himself in the post-game interview with Rhett Lewis afterwards, or with Lance Reddick. The guy's going to be great on the mic. He, I've commented with Steven that he's kind of cheesy when he does these post-game interviews and he's crying and everything, but that's who he is. Like, I'm not saying he's disingenuous by any means. He's just kind of corny, but that's who he is. That's all you can ask for. And he's going to be a leader of men in time. The fact that Max Crosby's still on the team will help him out there. But I don't know how you felt, Alon, but I wasn't wowed by anything in the pro day. I was just like, okay, that's what I expect from the first overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, all the pro day confirmed is that he's healthy. I think that's one of the biggest things. So these guys don't throw at the combine because, and I wonder if that will change a little bit, if they will start throwing at the combine again, because the combine has had some of the weight taken off of it. And that was one of the reasons guys didn't want to throw at the combine, is because they wanted to throw with their own guys. But maybe now, since some of the weight has been taken off the NFL combine in terms of draft positioning, outside of pure speed still plays a big part in it. But I wonder if they're ever going to start throwing again. But yeah, watching the pro day, Derek, it just proved what we already know he can do. We've seen him do all this during game time. I have a few clips here. I'm going to pull them up, but credit to Sports Cup, who was able to make a little compilation here. If you find them on YouTube, but there you go. I mean, it was about 12 minutes of footage, and thank God someone cut it down to about 12 seconds. But I mean, you can see some good throws. It's all stuff that, we know he can do.
There you go. Airing it out. There you go.
Yeah. But these are all throws that he made during games, so it was nothing new. I think the only thing that kind of really flashed was, I don't know, just how comfortable and effortless he made it look. But yeah, I mean, not too much new to be gleaned from all that video. I will say this: you talked about the kind of generational arm talent. He doesn't have that. Let's say a generational arm is like a 10, 10 out of 10. He's probably somewhere in that 7.5 to 8 range. It's not a bad arm at all. He can still rifle it down the field. The touch on his throws is great. And we can see that he can definitely put a lot of air under it. A few of those throws looked like they were going to hit the ceiling of the sports complex over there at Indiana. But I think we just learned that, hey, he's healthy, and everything that we saw him do during a game, he can make it look easy during basically a walkthrough.
Yeah, and I thought that he looked really fluid and he looked on point. I love the play action fakes that he was doing over the middle. Yeah, he can put the ball wherever he wants. And I think the key is, can he just hit, a play action fake on a go route to Trey Tucker? Like, that's all I care about. Like, does he have the arm strength in that dome in Las Vegas now to hit the post and make that throw? Like, I remember years ago when Andrew Luck was coming out, and the only knock on him was his arm strength. I remember Phil Simms just going to town on him, being like, yeah, I wouldn't take him because he doesn't have a strong arm. Well, Peyton Manning didn't have a strong arm either, and it grew over time. Same thing with Tom Brady. I don't know if Brock Purdy has the strongest arm in the NFL. I don't think it really matters. As long as Fernando Mendoza is accurate and can put the ball wherever he wants, then I don't think we should be complaining too much or trying to nitpick anything wrong with him. Now, there is the whole debate between him and Ty Simpson. It really is only by one guy, in Dan Orlovsky. And, I heard today Chase Daniel went on, and it's funny, like now we have all these backup quarterbacks who are getting these analyst jobs, but they're both very good. Dan Orlovsky's fantastic, I think, on ESPN, and same thing with Chase Daniel. And Chase Daniel went on Pat McAfee, and he was like, I respect Dan Orlovsky, and I talked to him a lot about his evaluation between the two quarterbacks. I just disagree. I think there's a lot of stuff that you could say with Ty Simpson that's better than Fernando Mendoza, but you can't really count the heart or the big-time throws or the way that he came up big in the moments, being clutch. And those are things that really scouts don't look for, honestly. Like, they could give a shit about, the time and place of when you did these throws. It really is just, can I look at the tape and see what kind of throws you made? And I get what Chase Daniel's talking about, because that's the reason why Fernando Mendoza is going first overall. Is, yes, he had a fantastic season, and he is a really good quarterback, but also it's what he did in the postseason, getting the Heisman, all that stuff. And it really is that he can carry himself, he can carry himself like a leader of men and post-game interviews and all that stuff. So I understand what Chase Daniel's talking about, but the more I do watch Ty Simpson, the more I do see what Dan Orlovsky is saying. And it's not anything where I think the Raiders shouldn't draft Fernando Mendoza first overall, but just watching his tape, I got to say, he does make more NFL throws than Fernando Mendoza does. And again, like I said last time with you, I think Fernando Mendoza, the tape that's more impressive to me is what he did at Cal, the air raid, where he's not doing the RPO stuff and he just dropped it back to throw. But as far as the throws that Fernando Mendoza made, he made clutch throws. I went through it last time. All of them to Charlie Becker from Indiana. But Ty Simpson, it looked to me like he has one big knock on him is he's got a frail frame. And he's not like, what is he, Alon? Like maybe 200 pounds, if that?
Yeah, he's about 6'2"-ish and maybe 210. 215.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm being maybe a little generous there. He's not the biggest guy, and it does help his mobility, but you're right. His frame has been knocked quite a bit.
And that may lead to more injuries where he's more susceptible to that. But it's also the fact, and like, there shouldn't be a knock on Mendoza. They had like a bunch of talent around him in Indiana. But the truth is, Ty Simpson's making the, and again, like let's not act like Alabama had a bunch of nobodies. like you know that better than anybody, Alon. Like, yes, they still have who's it? Ryan Williams, the wide receiver that's coming out in 2 years. Like,
yep.
they still have talent. But to me, like all the throws that I was talking about with Fernando Mendoza last time, all the clutch throws he made in the postseason, Ty Simpson did that once a game. Honestly, looking through his tape, like he just makes like some clutch throws where it's third and long and it's more along the sideline or tight coverage where he just needles it through. Like, the stuff he does is impressive. Is he going to get knocked, because he struggled against Georgia in the SEC championship game? Absolutely. Along with the playoff game against Indiana, he did not perform well in those games. But you got to give it to him for what he did against Oklahoma in that first round of the postseason, and really for the majority of the season. Yes, he got hurt later on, but he wasn't the same type of quarterback. But he does make impressive throws. I think to Dan Orlovsky's point, more deep throws, more NFL throws, more high pressure situations, I believe. So it's not a question to me. Fernando Mendoza should be taken first overall. But is Ty Simpson a first round draft pick? Absolutely, in my opinion. He should be drafted in the first round. Is he going to go to a team where he's going to start right away? Probably not, because most teams are going to wait till next year to draft the Arch Mannings, to draft the Dante Moores, everybody else that's available in the 2027 draft. But I do think Ty Simpson will go to a situation that benefits him greatly, whether that's the LA Rams backing up Matthew Stafford for a year or backing up Aaron Rodgers with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the only two teams I see that will go after Ty Simpson. So the way that I look at it, Fernando Mendoza is a better prospect for the here and now. And he may not even play right away. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I do think Ty Simpson could have the better NFL career when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Derek. And look, I like Ty Simpson. I really wish he would have stayed another year. I understand why he's not going to, because he probably realizes he's a guaranteed first round pick this year, and kind of why muck things up by going into a class that's going to be headlined by a guy like Arch Manning as well as Dante Moore. But he did make a ton of throws. So one of the things about Ty Simpson, and Alabama had talent across the board. That was not a question. I mean, they're an extremely talented team. The recruiting classes have been deep since Saban was there, and now that Saban's gone, Kalen DeBoer has done a great job of recruiting. But Ty Simpson has had to elevate guys who have not played their best, whereas Fernando Mendoza, yes, he has had a lot of those clutch moments in the biggest of games, but like you said, Ty Simpson had to do that kind of stuff almost once a game. And yeah, were there some ugly moments there, like against Georgia in the SEC championship? Sure. But we can also see what he did against Georgia in the regular season. We see ugly moments against Florida State. Yeah. And we saw ugly moments against Indiana as well. But there's all these times that Ty Simpson, he had to one-man show it for so much of the season for that Alabama team. And I mentioned it last time out. You know, he had to set the protections. I mean, he was orchestrating everything at the line. He had a lot of freedom under Kalen DeBoer, which is a great sign for a future professional quarterback. He is going to go to a better situation than Mendoza, at least at the start. I see a lot of good qualities in Ty Simpson. It's just those big moments and the pedigree that Fernando Mendoza has now laid out that make him that number one kind of undisputed quarterback pick, not just the number one overall draft pick, but the number one quarterback pick. What's very interesting is before the Raiders season went totally off the rails, I actually thought, you know, they're going to have to get a quarterback. Ty Simpson's probably the guy, especially as the season was kind of wearing on. I was like, he'll probably be there somewhere, you know, around pick number 10-ish. You could probably get him. Maybe some people think it's a reach. I thought it would be a really good pick. But he's good. He can play the game. Yeah, the frame, you mentioned that. But he's mobile. And like I said, he didn't have any running game this year. So in the NFL, he's going to probably get some semblance of a running game, and that'll make him just that much more effective. I'm curious to see. I know what Ty Simpson can do. I know he can elevate others up to his level, and he can really take games over. I don't know if Fernando Mendoza can completely do that. I seen him do it at Cal. He didn't have to do it in Indiana. So that's the big thing. It's the eye test there in terms of, hey, Ty Simpson, we've seen him have to take over games, and we've seen him be able to do it. Fernando Mendoza, we think he can do it. We definitely know he's clutch, but can he do that? Because sometimes in the NFL, you just need a quarterback to be able to take over a game.
Let me ask you this, Alon. Let's say that Arch Manning and Dante Moore and Lenore Sellers were all declaring for this season, for this draft. How would you rank the quarterbacks? Where would Fernando Mendoza fit into that along with Ty Simpson?
I think Fernando still goes number one.
Above those guys? You think so?
Because having the season he just had, yeah. I still think he goes number one. I think Arch Manning's two. That's based on the physical tools he brings. And I know you're a Texas guy, and you saw the best and the worst of Arch Manning, and it's good that we get to see another year of him. I think he's two, and I think he is the best prospect out of all of them. I just think he's two because of the generational or kind of, you know, amazing capstone season that Fernando had. Then we're probably looking at a toss-up between Dante and Ty. I think Lenoris is the guy who goes last out of that group.
I agree with you on that one. I think Lenore's there's a lot of potential there, but he just needs to grow into a really, like a refined passer, I would say. But he definitely has all of the tangibles you're looking for. Um, as far as the top guys, Fernando Mendoza had a fantastic season. I still think Arch Manning would probably go first overall just because of, yes, he's a Manning, and also just the raw ability. And you're going to see it this season, I think, where he figured it out. I know that early on, like some people were just killing him because like, oh my God, what the hell is he doing? He's skipping balls in the dirt. It was a lot of pressure on him. He was playing Ohio State out the gate, and there was expectations of Heisman already. And yes, it was bad to start. I will admit that. But I think that there's more potential in him. So I understand that Mendoza has limitations, and I think there's limitations also with Arch Manning. But I think there is more upside with him. So if this was next year's draft class and Mendoza's fitting into this whole thing, yeah, I think Mendoza's too. But this year, it's kind of like last year with Cam Ward, where it's not the most quarterback heavy draft, and you're going to pick the best guy the best guy available, and that guy is the guy that had an all-time season. Throwing 41 touchdown passes and getting Indiana to the national championship and winning the damn thing and win the Heisman as well. So I get all that. Plus, playing at big moments is something that I don't think's really considered when it comes to the next level in the NFL. Like I think scouts just look at your ability as a passer, but you don't look at everything, how you conduct yourself. And I mean, yes, that is a big thing that scouts look for also, but it really is the fact that Fernando Mendoza, like the biggest thing between Mendoza and Ty Simpson is that Mendoza was flawless in the postseason. Like he was unbelievable. That game against Oregon, what did he throw? Like 6 touchdown passes, whatever it was. It was fantastic. The performance against Alabama, and I don't care what anybody thinks, like it might be a down year for Alabama. That's an SEC defense. He lit them up. It wasn't like the most eye-popping stats, but I want to say he was almost damn near perfect. Like he was 19 of 22, whatever it was. And maybe for like $190 and 3 touchdowns, but still pretty good stats. Miami was when he was most tested, but he didn't throw a pick in that game. I don't think, at least. He, when it was time to perform a 4th and 5, a panic moment maybe, he just drops his shoulders and picks up the first down with his legs. So that's stuff you got to take into account. The heart, the determination, not being nervous in those situations. Yes, the mentals too. That's a big deal. So that's why Fernando Mendoza is going to go first overall. But yes, if this was any other draft, if this was next year, I think Arch Manning is hands down the consensus first overall pick. And Ty Simpson has ability as well, but I think people are just going to knock him right now because of the way he performed on the latter portion of the season. And when the big moments came, the Oklahoma game, he was fantastic. The SEC championship game and the playoff game against Indiana did not show up big. But I do think that Ty Simpson will benefit from backing up a future Hall of Famer if he is selected by the Rams or the Steelers.
That would be the perfect situation for him, either behind Stafford or Rodgers, and 2 great organizations to go to as well. I could see him completely just flourishing in LA under Sean McVay. I think that would actually be perfect. But I think going behind Rodgers for a year or whatever, however long that would be in Pittsburgh would be good too. I hear what you're saying about Arch Manning. I go back and forth. It's just, how much weight does a certain team put on the individual season that a guy had? And then how much weight does the team just put on all the tools? So Fernando Mendoza, it's not like he doesn't have any tools. He does have tools. Arch Manning is, clear cut above everybody else, though, when it comes to the tools that he brings. So then you weigh in the other things. I will say as well, I think Fernando, I pointed to my head, right? So it's some of the other things. Like he processes the game very well. He's decisive. I think his best quality is he's tough as nails. And that doesn't always get, Ty Simpson's going to be knocked for it because of the way he kind of gets knocked around sometimes. Fernando Mendoza got his ass sacked early in that Rose Bowl against Alabama. In the games against Penn State, he was under pressure. He's had games where he's gotten hit. He's had games where he stood and delivered in the pocket and been able to throw. He's had games where he's been knocked down and then come back and then just gut you out with a great throw to Cooper, to Surratt, or guys like that. So that's his, I think, Superman ability. He's decisive and he's tough as nails. So I don't know what that means for the longevity of his NFL career, but I know he's going to stand in there and deliver. Could also mean he's going to get the crap sacked out of him too early. So we'll see. That's the bad part about it.
Yeah.
But I think that is the biggest skill that he has, besides his ball placement and his decisiveness, that really sets him apart. He's just tough. He'll stand in there and throw it. He'll open his whole body up. I mean, we'll watch the tape when it gets closer to draft time, Derek, but he'll open his whole body up to make the throw that he needs to make, the maybe high EV throw, right? Expected value throw. And he'll open himself up and take a shot to the ribs, but he'll make the throw. So that's his Superman ability.
No, I'm with you, Lon. I think that he's tough. You saw it when he took that first hit in the Big Ten championship at State of the Game, and that's something I've noticed too, where he's got the Brock Purdy effect, where he's decisive with his throws. You have to know what you're doing on third down. Are you making a throw or are you running? You got to know in a split second there. You can't just stand in the pocket forever and get sacked. So that's something that will go a long way with Fernando Mendoza. And I do wonder. It's been a long time since we saw someone take it first overall and they sit for the majority of the season. I do wonder if that will be the case with Mendoza, because I want to get to this, Alon. So everybody's talking during the league meetings, some coaches more than others. Sean McVay made the rounds talking to everybody, talking about what's going on with Puka Nacua. And I just want to bring that up real quick. Unfortunate what's going on with Puka Nacua right now. We got the news about an hour ago. He did check himself into rehab. And this was early in March. This is before the allegations of everything with the woman that said he bit her and the anti-Semitic comments. There was the restraining order that was filed against her, against Puka by her, but I guess the LA courts thought that was not appropriate or whatever. But I don't know what he's in rehab for, but yeah, Puka Nacua in rehab right now. So, in an off season where he's hoping to get a new contract, you hope that everything's for the best for Puka at this moment.
Yeah, it's not good. And we talked about it last time, and good mature move on his part. That was something that we were both saying, that he's got to maybe grow up a little bit, not just a little bit, but he's got to start acting like a professional and a real adult human being. So that's a good forward step for him. It's unfortunate. But I think a guy like Puka Nacua, how much he cares about the game, I think he also probably cares about his personal life as well. So this is probably a genuine move by him, not just, sometimes we see guys do stuff like this just so they can cash in on a bigger contract, things like that. I think he's genuine about this. So I'm happy for him. I don't want to see that kind of situation with him or anybody else going forward. So it's sad, but it's also a positive in a way.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've seen NFL players in the offseason go to rehab before, and hopefully this is the best for Puka. But as far as head coach, Sean McVay was asked about Puka and, will they give him a contract? That's the likes of JSN. And he was like, we'll see, blah, blah, blah. But Sean McVay was pretty honest while he was talking to multiple media outlets, and he was honest about their interest in A.J. Brown. They did inquire about him. I guess there's a whole thing with the medical situation, kind of similar to Max Crosby, where they didn't go through with the trade, or maybe the Rams were never really serious about it. Maybe the Eagles weren't serious about it, because I got to believe in Howie Roseman. Why would you send him to the Rams, where that's one of your biggest competitions in the NFC? But he was honest about that. He was honest to Devontae Adams, apparently, saying there were talks about sending you to Philadelphia, with getting A.J. Brown back. So it's good to be open and honest about that. But one of the most interesting things I thought was Sean McVay was honest about the backup quarterback situation, where he said they do want Jimmy Garoppolo back, but he really made a plea to have Kirk Cousins be the backup to Matthew Stafford. Did it on multiple interviews where he was with Mike Florio and then on ESPN, looking in the camera saying, Kirk, if you want to come to LA, we're more than happy to have you. I'll admit my Sean McVay is not as good as Adam Copeland's, but yeah, that is interesting because Sean coached Kirk back with Washington back in the day. And that would be a very old quarterback room to have Matthew Stafford. How old is he, Alon? 38 years old?
Oh, Stafford's pushing 40. I think he's 38. I think you're right about that.
And I want to say Cousins is 37, something like that.
Stafford's 38. I just looked, and Kirk Cousins is 37. So
there you go.
That would be old man football in there.
That would be one hell of a backup or just a quarterback room in general to have that experience, and it would be the best backup quarterback situation in football, hands down. Then you see Brian Gutekunst of the Green Bay Packers saying we would love to have Kirk Cousins as well, and that makes a lot of sense because Matt LaFleur coached Kirk Cousins back in the day with Washington as well. All those guys, Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, who am I forgetting? Mike McDaniel was with him as well. So all those guys know Kirk Cousins very well. I got to believe, though, if you're Kirk Cousins, if you want to win a Super Bowl, that's fine. If you want to go, but you're not going to be the starting quarterback. Like, it would be a weird situation. Like, you're going to mentor Matthew Stafford? No. Like, you don't really need to teach anything with Matthew. Just be like, two old guys hanging out, being quarterbacks for a good situation with the LA Rams. If you're Kirk Cousins, yes, you can mentor Jordan Love, but what's the best situation for Kirk Cousins at this point? Really, it is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, if somehow, some way, Aaron Rodgers decides he doesn't want to come back, then yes, the best situation by far for Kirk Cousins is to start for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we know that defense at times has been rusty, but that defense is ready to go. That offense with DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr., not a bad situation. But I got to believe that Aaron Rodgers coming back, the way that Mike McCarthy made it sound the other day while talking at the owners' meetings, was he talks to him every day or every other day. So why is he doing that? He must know. Like, I'm not going through this whole song and dance, and I know that Rocco New Era and Otis Bird and Skills Report last year know that I was obsessed with the Rodgers thing with the Steelers. I'm not doing that this year. I could care less. When he signs, he signs. It probably will be in June. He probably has already told the Steelers, I'm coming. Just let's figure it out later. So I don't think that Kirk Cousins is going to the Steelers. I do think the best situation for Kirk Cousins is the Raiders. I do. He knows the scheme of Clint Kubiak. And it's not guaranteed that Fernando Mendoza, yes, they will draft him, but it's not set in stone that he would start right away. You hear everything with Tom Brady talking about young quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks. He wants the same situation for whoever they draft, and that will be Mendoza. That he wants the same situation that he had with Drew Bledsoe his rookie year, to learn and grow from a veteran quarterback. So I want to play this clip real quick, Alon, from Clint Kubiak, where he sat down. This was part of the AFC coaches, like the breakfast meetings where they sit with the media and they ask a bunch of questions. And I think Clint Kubiak's been honest about this from the get-go, where he really doesn't want a rookie quarterback starting for him. He wants a guy to mature and grow and learn how to be a pro. So if you have the clip on, this is Clint Kubiak sitting at the breakfast meeting with the media talking about what he envisions for his rookie quarterback in year one.
I think ideally you'd like to, you don't want him to start from day one. You'd love him to be able to learn behind somebody. That's in a perfect world, watching a mature adult, go and run an offense and run the team. But the situation is, you might have that player, you might not. You might not have that veteran to show him the way. So he might come in and have to play immediately. But you'd rather him learn before he gets in the game. You don't always get to pick. It just doesn't work out the exact way you want it to. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're bringing in an individual, drafting a guy that is mature enough to handle some adversity, whether it's him starting the first game or him starting the first game year two. And it's our job as a coach to get him ready to go. I think ideally
Yeah, so I mean that's where he's kind of playing both sides of the coin, where like it could be this, it could be that. And Fernando Mendoza is all those things. He is mature. He can handle adversity. But it would be nice for him to learn from a quarterback that has a similar skill set like him in Kirk Cousins. And their personalities are very similar. I could see where Kirk Cousins has Fernando over to the house, cooking meals with him, hanging out with Coop by the bonfire. But that would be an ideal situation. I think that's Clint Kubiak's kind of like wink, nudge to everybody, being like, I want Kirk Cousins to be here. I want him to be the starting quarterback for the Raiders. Just a matter of, is Kirk going to do that? I think that Kirk, right now, I think he's got offers from the Rams. I think he's got offers from the Packers and the Raiders, probably other teams out there. But he's going to wait and see what happens with the draft. I just think the Raiders' plan is to get Kirk Cousins as their starting quarterback and then have Fernando Mendoza learn from him.
I think Kirk Cousins wants to play football. I think that's the first thing that's on his mind. And we mentioned some of the other situations, Derek, like LA or Pittsburgh. Those are all, the Pittsburgh one's interesting. So if Aaron Rodgers doesn't end up going back, that is the perfect fit. I'm assuming Aaron Rodgers is going to go back. Like you said, why the hell are him and Mike talking to each other, every other day? That's the only reason they're talking to each other, is because they're trying to get Aaron back in the building, and Aaron wants to be back in the building. In terms of going to LA, yeah, that would be really interesting. You have old man football quarterback room, really two old wise sages at that position just hanging out. I don't know. I don't think Kirk Cousins, I know he'd love to be in that situation, but he wants to play football. So I think the Raiders are the best fit in terms of him being able to play football for at least another year, and him having some familiarity with the coaching staff. In this case, Clint Kubiak, they were together in Minnesota. So that all makes sense. And then when you listen to what Coach Kubiak just said, I mean, he's pretty much saying it without coming right out and saying it, I want a veteran quarterback. And I really, if he wants a veteran quarterback, he wants his guy. So he's going to want his guy, and his guy at least was still able to play at a pretty high level. I mean, he went 5-3 over the last 8 games of the season for Atlanta last season. So Kirk can still play. I don't know how healthy he'll be able to stay, but he can still play. And I think he wants to play football. So the Raiders are a perfect match, and it's good for Mendoza. You mentioned the Tom Brady angle. Brady is a firm believer that guys should sit. He sat, and whether that's correct or not, he sat and look at the career he had. So I don't think he cares whether you're first overall or pick 199 like he was. He wants to be able to have the quarterback sit and learn from someone who's really good, a high-level player. Kirk Cousins, not all that dissimilar from Drew Bledsoe. Bledsoe, a Pro Bowler. Kirk Cousins never led anybody to a Super Bowl like Drew Bledsoe did. They lost a Super Bowl, but Kirk Cousins is very much similar in that mold. And I think it just would be a perfect situation for both the organization and the player. And it's really good for Fernando Mendoza, too. I think so many times bad organizations, bad teams throw these guys out there to the wolves, and it's sink or swim. And a lot more guys would probably be able to swim if they weren't thrown out there like that. So I think you're doing best by the team and Mendoza and Kirk Cousins by trying to bring him in.
I would agree. I think that, yes, if he wants to win and doesn't care about starting, then the Rams and Packers are better situations. But I think at this point in his life, Kirk Cousins wants to be a mentor, but really wants to play football as well. And if he doesn't get a situation that he likes, I could see him easily going to the CBS pregame show and postgame show, where he was great at that and in the AFC Championship game, filling in for Matt Ryan. So I think he has that on the back burner where he could go to television if there's something he doesn't really love, if he doesn't want to go back up Matthew Stafford or back up Jordan Love, which I don't blame him for that, because you're not going to see the football field. Maybe with Jordan Love, because he has been susceptible to injuries in the past, or just this past year. So you could get an opportunity there. But I think the best situation, honestly, is the Raiders. I think that, yes, it's going to be a growing situation, and you're not going to win, and you got to go up against the Chiefs and the Chargers and Broncos. But if you want to play in a scheme you're familiar with, and he knows Clint Kubiak from the Minnesota days, and you're mentoring a quarterback which he will respect, I think it's a slam dunk situation. Just a matter of time. I think that we'll get past the draft, and Kirk will weigh his options. Maybe it's something that we get closer to training camp. But I do think Kirk Cousins, when push comes to shove, will sign with the Raiders. I do see that situation going down. And if it's not Kirk, I don't really know. Like, the other older quarterback that could be a good mentor to a young rookie could be Russell Wilson, but I don't love the idea of Russell Wilson playing for the Raiders.
We wanted him here when we first got to Las Vegas. Well, the Raiders wanted him here when a lot of the Raider fans wanted him here.
Yeah.
He ended up going to Pittsburgh, and you know what? Maybe he dodged a little bit of a bullet there. I don't know. Russell Wilson, that's a hard one.
Commitment to excellence, baby.
Yeah.
He'd be doing all the slogans.
He would. No, he'd be a great pitch man. That's for sure. And his wife is Ciara, right?
Does she have residency in Vegas?
She could get one if he came here to play. I mean, yeah, that would be a slam dunk deal for them. I don't think that's happening. I keep thinking if it's not Kirk Cousins, who is going to be that mentor? I almost think if it's not Kirk Cousins, Fernando Mendoza is starting day one. And that is, I don't know if that's the best situation for him or the team. Derek Carr, we already talked to Q about that. That's
Yeah,
most
that ain't
likely
happening.
not, that ain't going to happen.
Nah.
And for good reason, not going to happen. Yeah, there's just not too many other guys to call. Geno's ran out of town. He's already signed. That ship has sailed.
Yeah.
You're not going to call Phillip Rivers on the phone, as much as I would love that. That's not happening. I would do that. I'm being honest. And people call me crazy here in the chat. I'd call Phillip Rivers.
I think Phillip is on like a break glass, a case of emergency situation now these days.
I think it's an emergency if you can't find a veteran quarterback. I would call Phillip Rivers in a heartbeat. Joe Flacco would have been another guy.
Too late. He already signed with the Bengals. Yeah,
he already signed with the Bengals. So Phillip Rivers, if you're out there, buddy, we'd love to have you and your whole family out here in Los. Phillip Rivers is my favorite non-Raider of all time.
Really?
I love Phillip Rivers, and as far as quarterbacks go. So I'd love to see him suit up for the silver and black. But Mac Jones, Ernie says, Mac Jones, that ain't happening either.
You gotta trade an arm and a leg to get him right now. And I don't think anybody's doing that.
Also, you may be stunting Fernando Mendoza's growth because Mac has shown that maybe he's still a pretty good player. Who knows? But yeah, I outside of Kirk Cousins, I don't know what you do for that veteran position. I don't know what you do.
I think Mendoza would beat out Russell Wilson if they went to training camp together. And I don't think it's the end of the world. Like, if you don't get Kirk Cousins, you could go with Mendoza starting day one and find a really good backup. And yeah, Mac Jones, Max Crosby for Mac Jones. I'm so tired of that. And I know you're having fun with that, Ernie, but like, I heard that on KMBR way too much. I'm like, you guys are out of your fucking minds. It's not happening. And Mac Jones is too young to be the mentor to Fernando Mendoza. If you're trading him, you want him to start for your team. So, yeah, I think it's Kirk Cousins or bust when it comes to a potential starting quarterback to mentor Mendoza until he's ready to actually play. So, yeah, I do think it's going to happen. I do. Like when we talked to Q, he was poo-pooing the Derek Carr thing. Kirk Cousins makes a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a shit ton of sense. So, yeah, I would say look for that to happen. If it doesn't, then I could see Kirk Cousins going into television. Real quick, AJ Cruz pops up in the chat here and asks Alon, oh, wait, is that an NWO shirt, Alon?
NWO, baby. New World Order.
There you go. That's when the new iteration of Hulk Hogan, everybody, when it came to the alternative. No, sorry, My WWE history, I watched the Vince McMahon documentary. I'm not gonna act like I'm a historian when it comes to wrestling, but NWO was the rival company. Yes, okay.
Yeah, and then basically that's actually a pretty good way of saying it. NWO was a rival company.
Yeah.
That's when WCW started beating out WWF in the ratings. Hulk Hogan was the third man. You had Scott Hall, who's my favorite wrestler, and Kevin Nash, and then Hulk Hogan turned heel, and it was a big deal. And then Dennis Rodman, to bring it back to sports, he was part of the NWO.
Yeah, I heard about that. I saw some clips.
Karl Malone had to come out and show him who's boss, I guess, a little bit. Anyway.
All right, AJ Cruz. MWO or WWC, Derek, nobody asked you. No one asked me. I'm bringing it up because you want me to acknowledge the fucking chat here, AJ Cruz. Calm your tits. Jesus. All right, anyway. Moving on from the WWE talk. There was some new NFL rule changes for this upcoming season that was brought up at the league meetings. And I think we got to love you too, AJ Cruz. I think we got to get ready for replacement refs this upcoming season because the league they are going to get ready for replacement refs. We talked about it on Sunday's show where there was a league memo sent out saying, let's not talk about this. We don't want to get into a whole labor negotiation thing with the referees right now. And they did pass a new rule. For 1 year, the league office can step in and they can see an egregious error made by the replacement referees and say that's, like the same thing with the Fail Mary with the Packers and the Seahawks back in the day, where if there's something that's just totally egregious, if it's clear there was a fumble or a touchdown or whatever, then the league office could step in and say, you guys messed up. Now, that sets a horrible precedent for this upcoming season where we're basically telling the fans that there's going to be fuck-ups. And I don't like that whatsoever. And I'm not going to get into Do I think that referees should be paid full time? Yes, but it's not my league. It's not my money. And should they be full-time employees? I don't know, but maybe they should be paid more than what they're being paid right now. But the bottom line is, with the way that sports are today, with leagues being in bed with gambling sites, I can't believe for a second we're going to go into the NFL season, the biggest sport in America, and we're going to have replacement referees. It'll be a constant thing that is bitched about every single day on sports talk radio or even just sports talk media. So I know we're talking about this in March, and the labor deal with the referees expires on May 31st. There's still some time. I gotta believe that we're not going to have this when we start the season.
As a great Joe Biden would say, this is a big effing deal. No, it is. It is President Biden. That is. It is a huge deal. Coming out, they're basically just telling everybody without telling everybody. I mean, there's a lot of that going on in the NFL right now, Derek. I mean, they're saying, oh, well, we have these procedures in place to make the crappy replacement refs. And hey, credit to them. You get to go be an NFL ref, replacement or full-time or whatever. It's not full-time, but you're the professional or the replacement. Good for you. But you are going to screw up. The real ones do. The replacements do at a much higher rate. It's horrible. I know you said, Derek, it's not your league. It's not our league. It's not our money. I get all that. The NFL at the end of the day cares about the bottom line. If people tune out or there's a big outcry, or if a gambling thing does happen where it really screws something up, then maybe we'll see some type of resolution. But as long as that viewership keeps growing and the revenue keeps growing, they don't care. They don't care who the refs are because people are still going to keep watching, which is awful in a way, because that means we're coming back because we're addicted to football, and the NFL knows that, and they're just like, okay, well, we'll give you some crappy refs for at least half the season here. It's horrible. It's a bad precedent, and it's coming with other rule changes too. Not that there's a ton of rule changes, but I mean, you have the kickoff alignment requirements kind of moving how players set up in the receiving zone. You have the onside kick rule now. So I don't want to see this. No one wants to see this. And I also don't want to see ABS, because what the NFL is basically saying is this is ABS for football. I don't want to see ABS for football be employed every time one of these refs messes up. That being said, if they mess up that bad, what other recourse do you have as a league? So the league's got to get on top of this. The owners just got to say, look, let's just take a $2 million haircut or whatever it is so we can make these refs full-time and we never have to deal with this again. Just do it. It's common sense. MLB has it. Why don't you?
I don't know how you implement ABS into the NFL. I know that we have the Skyview thing when it comes to first downs. I don't know how you can implement that in any other thing. Like I just don't like we're getting a robot to determine if it's a touchdown or not. Like no. And I know that the ABS system has been so far so good in Major League Baseball. Let's see what happens when the umpires are made to look bad. Like, let's see what happens when they have their negotiations. Like, it's been fantastic. It's quick. It's easy. Catchers, are spotting it really quickly. So are batters. But I wonder what's going to happen when, and I don't really know all the ramifications of everything when it comes to umpires in Major League Baseball. But let's see what happens when their labor negotiations are up too, because they can't be happy about this, because they may right now we're loving it as fans, but it kind of makes it where umpires are kind of, obsolete, to be completely honest, where we'll get, you can get a robot to determine strikes and balls and everything like that, but slippery slope in baseball. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if umpires are kind of fed up with this shit. But you also mentioned the new rule changes, Alon, in the NFL, and some of them, just to get the right wording from Tom Pelissero. Some rule changes that were passed by the competition committee to permit kicking team to declare an onside kick at any point during a game. I'm down for that. I didn't like it before, where it can only be done in the fourth quarter when you're down. You should be able to onside kick whenever you want,
and not declare it.
And not declare it either. Like I don't love that we can't have surprise onside kicks. I know that they're thinking about safety and everything with the players, and I value that. But think about the great moments in NFL history where you had onside kicks where you didn't have to ruin the surprise. Like in 2009 between the Saints and the Colts. The reason that the Saints got back into that game was because of Sean Payton doing the surprise onside kick. that was huge. That's why they got momentum back in that game. So I don't love that's a rule right now in the NFL, but I do love the fact that it doesn't have to be just in the fourth quarter. They're going to eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally kick the ball out of bounds when kicking off from the 50-yard line. Okay, the rule change I want to see, and yes, they're also modifying the kicking off alignment requirements, but I want to see where I don't think this is taken out of the game right now. I don't love it now where if the ball doesn't land in the landing zone or whatever, then that's a penalty where they get the ball at the 40-yard line. That's pretty much what set the Seahawks up for victory against the Arizona Cardinals this past season. So I don't want that. I hate that rule. And it hasn't really been a factor in any playoff games yet. But there's a few games this season where it determined the outcome. So I don't want to see that going forward. And there's one more. This is a big one, actually. NFL owners just approved an amendment rule change that not only will allow league personnel to consult with on-field officials when considering disqualifications for both flagrant fouls and non-football acts without being called on the field, but put the flag, and this is worded poorly, but put the flag on the field too. Basically, what they're saying is a flag does not need to be thrown in order to disqualify a player from the game. This is the DK Metcalf rule from a year ago where he slapped the fan in the stands at Detroit. So I think that it's going to be a slippery slope with that too, where now the league can look at the NFL broadcast of a game and see those camera angles and see that someone did something. And now, out of the blue, where it's plays after the fact, you could see where, hey, what happened to DK Metcalf? Oh, he's been disqualified from the game. What happened? Well, nothing was explained on the field, but we saw it if you're watching on the TV broadcast. So people that are at the game are going to be like, what the hell's going on here? But I do think that's fair with what happened a year ago where DK Metcalf, whatever you want to think of what happened between him and the fan, you can't do that. You can't pull a dude down by his hair, and it was fake hair, but you can't do that and slap the shit out of the guy and stay in the game. And then what's worse? Do you want him to be disqualified for that game right then and there, or have the penalty not be thrown and then league officials look at it over the weekend and then DK gets a 2-game suspension? So I don't mind that. It's going to cause a slippery slope where everything's going to be checked. It's going to be more like the NBA where you look at something after the fact and then someone could be disqualified from the game. And I hope that limits the possible suspensions for players and what they do during the game. But this was bound to happen after what happened with DK Metcalf, the Lions fan.
Yeah, the DK Metcalf situation. I can think of another situation which would totally be reviewed because non-football act. Geno Smith flipping fans off. Think about that at the start of the season. That is the kind of thing that potentially, because it's a non-football act.
Yeah,
right? I know it's before the game, but it's a non-football act. So we're getting to get into all kinds of weird gray area with just player interactions on the sideline, either with fans, with each other, with other players. You're right, Derek. It is going to be like the NBA. And if it turns into a thing where we're going to have players not only ejected in the game, but then they're suspended after the fact, and yeah, DK Metcalf, what he did, that's obvious. But there's going to be other situations where it's like, okay, maybe there's an illegal hit or something, whatever, a bad gesture, whatever the case is, but we're going to eject you from the game after we look at it because we missed it on the field, and then maybe suspend you for another game or two after that. I mean, this is Roger Goodell swinging the big hammer because he's going to make all the calls on this like he always does. And it's going to be totally arbitrary. We're going to see some guys who just get the game ejection, and we're going to see other guys who get 3 games suspended maybe because of reputation. I don't like that. I think this is a bad idea. Look, there's some things that happen, right, especially between fan interactions, because we do care about fan safety. We also care about player safety. That, yeah, those need to be addressed immediately, and they need to be addressed harshly. But there's other things where it's just like, man, how much are we going to nitpick this?
Yeah, I hear you. And also the Geno Smith example, I don't know if you could do that. Like, I understand, like, maybe a flag is thrown, but I don't think there should be anything. Like, if that's before the game, I don't.
Non-football act.
I know. I would not be happy with that if we're doing something where something happened. Well, I mean, like, it's happened before, though, where I remember the Eagles and Falcons years ago getting into a pregame scuffle, and it led to a penalty on the opening kickoff. So that's fine with me because that's been done before. But if you penalize an offense before they went on the football field because Geno Smith or Michael Vick or somebody that flipped off the crowd. I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. Where if you are penalized and disqualified from a game, should you be suspended for the next game? Because we saw the opening kickoff game, Eagles and Cowboys. Jalen Hurts is spit on. Oh, sorry, not Jalen Hurts. Jalen Carter is spit on. Jalen Carter spits on Dak Prescott, and he wasn't suspended the next game because that kind of was a one-game suspension in itself because it was right out, like first snap from scrimmage, and he spits on Dak Prescott. Do you really need to suspend a guy after the fact when he's going to be disqualified from the game? I don't know. And I think that's a slippery slope here. So this is going to be very interesting to see what happens with this. I understand that the league needed to act off of what happened a year ago with DK Metcalf, but I don't want it to be where it's a whole thing where we're reviewing every single aspect of the game and something that you saw on the sideline leads to a guy being disqualified. So I don't know.
Will Mark Sanchez be disqualified for getting a hot dog? You know, when he's blowing out the Raiders, it's not in the spirit of this non-football act. I'm being facetious here.
No, I know. You and I saw that as disrespectful, but the man can eat a hot dog.
Sure, I agree. I didn't care. Look, a guy's hungry. He's on the sideline. Who cares if he gets a snack or not? I mean, that's what I worry about with this kind of stuff. Is it's all arbitrary. It's worded vaguely, intentionally, so the league has full kind of latitude on it. And what does that actually look like when we implement it? That's what I wonder.
No, I'm with you. And by the way, I'm keeping track of what's going on in local Bay Area sports right now. We got the Sharks and the Warriors playing right now. Sharks need this game. They're down 3-2 right now in the third period to the Ducks. And as far as the Warriors, we know that Steph Curry's coming back on Sunday. They are losing by 21 points to the Spurs right now, 70-49 at halftime. We'll talk more about Steph Curry and his return on Sunday. Right before that game, because I don't know if I love Steph Curry coming back right now when the ceiling for this team is just a play-in or whatever. But we'll talk about that another day. As far as the other rules that came out of the league meetings, no more Monday night doubleheaders at the same time. Now, I saw some of the people running with this. I could be wrong about it. I saw my guy John Middlecoff talk about there's no more doubleheaders in general. I don't know if that's the case. I think it's just where we have two games going on simultaneously. I think we still could have double headers where one game's kicked off early East Coast time and one game's kicked off West Coast time at a reasonable time for all of us here on the West Coast. But I remember, and we've seen it right now, where there's staggered start times, where one game will start at 5 o'clock and one game will start at 6 o'clock, and they happen simultaneously. If you're watching, you could do the YouTube double screen thing. I don't know if it's going to be doubleheaders in general anymore, but no more where two games are going on simultaneously. And I like that because I want to watch every single game. I want to watch every NFL game, and I try to on Sundays. And, with my job, I miss a lot of 5 o'clock kicks because I'm still on the air. But I don't want it to be where I'm missing a good deal of time because both games are going on at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's all Monday night doubleheaders.
Really?
I don't. That's all the reporting that I read, and then reading the rule itself. But the release that the NFL put out themselves. But yeah, it's all doubleheaders. So like week 2, right? We're not going to have what we had with Texans at like 7 p.m. Eastern and Raiders at like 10 p.m. East. Like that's just not going to happen anymore. And I think the big reason the NFL felt like it's kind of diluting the specialness or the quality of Monday Night Football. Yep. Could be. I mean, you're also kind of cannibalizing your own audience too, So I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't like the staggered start. It's tough because you want to watch all of it. And when it's staggered like that, people are still at work or, even if you do have the YouTube thing, multi-screen, like, is that really how you want to enjoy Monday Night Football? Or could you imagine enjoying Sunday Night Football like that? That's how we watch regular season games, like on a Sunday afternoon or morning. But, those kind of Monday and Sunday Night Football games, those are supposed to be the cream of the crop games on the schedule. They shouldn't be distracted from with other games. It just shouldn't be that way.
I'm with you. I think that you just mentioned, Alon, where you don't want to go up against yourself, where the ABC audience is fighting with the ESPN audience. And they already have like some people jumping to the Manning cast already, so they don't want to lose that. Like the whole point of getting Joe Buck and Troy Aikman is you want to watch those two guys call Monday Night Football games. And I grew up on this. So do many people in the chat. You did too, Alon, where week 1 was a usual doubleheader on ESPN, that iteration of Monday Night Football where, you watch an East Coast game and then later on you watch the Raiders get shit stomped by the Chargers or Broncos. Like that was usually the case. But yeah, this kind of makes it feel like it's a bigger deal for Monday Night Football because let's be honest, in recent years, it hasn't felt that way. They don't have the biggest package as far as the best games, but yeah, I do like the fact that there was multiple games on Monday nights, but if it's just going to be where there's one single game on 5:25 West Coast time, then I get that. You're making it more of a priority for audiences, and you don't have to, flip between two games, or, you're going to have to, like alienate the East Coast audience if you have a West Coast game starting at 7:00 our time. So I get all of that. I just thought that maybe that was going to be the case for week 2 when the 49ers and Rams are going to go to Australia and they want a rest period between when they play on Thursday night, then maybe going to Monday night where the Rams and 49ers have a doubleheader, not against themselves, obviously, but 2 other opponents. But that's not going to be the case. And it sounds like the 49ers would hope to get a Sunday night home game on week 2 after their Melbourne game. Let's talk about that for a second. With that being official, so everything's moved up this year as far as when the season starts. It's a late start this year. We usually get, Labor Day weekend kind of earlier in August. Now we're getting it by, I think it's like September 4th or 5th. So the NFL season doesn't kick off until September 9th. And it's going to be on a Wednesday this year between the Seahawks and whoever they open their season up against. And we're not going to have a Friday night Brazil or Australia game because of league rules. They are permitted from having a game that late on a Friday because of a whole thing with the NFL and respecting high school games. So this year it's going to be where the Seahawks kick off on Wednesday on September 9th, and the Rams and 49ers are going to play each other in Melbourne on the 10th, where it's going to be 10:35 Friday morning Australia, 5:35 for us on the West Coast in America. And that's a reasonable time for us. That is a unreasonable time for those fans in Australia. And it's really unreasonable for all those players. And it's clear that Kyle Shanahan is pissed off about this. He was asked about it by Matt LaFleur, actually, when he was sitting down with Mike Florio and Chris Sims, where Matt LaFleur kind of egged him on, being like, so the Rams push for you guys to play them in Australia. And he was like, oh, yeah, because we know that the 49er fans take over SoFi Stadium, so they wanted us to be the opponent going to their home stadium in Australia. I think Kyle Shanahan has a legit gripe here because that is lame. And it's really lame for both teams because this is a gauntlet of a travel plan for the 49ers and Rams. 19 hours, and the whole time change. It's a day later. What that's going to do for you guys coming back week 2. It's not like the 49 or the league pushed the date of this game to Thursday because they were trying to be respectful of the 49ers and rest. Nothing to do with that. It's because of the whole thing with the restrictions that the NFL can have a game on Friday. So I have no idea how this is going to impact the 49ers as far as the week 2 game. But yeah, I don't blame the Rams and the 49ers being pissed off, and I really don't blame the 49ers for being pissed off when the Rams pushed them to be a part of this game.
Yeah, the 49ers definitely seem like they're getting the short end of the stick here from the scheduling aspect. I mean, because they have this game, and I love what Shanahan said when he's asked about it. He said, oh, I'm so fired up. That was our goal, to go 19 hours away to play a game. Like, it's so good. And he said it just so matter-of-factly. You could tell it was just total sarcasm. But they also have the other international. They have a game at the Azteca in Mexico City, too.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
They have 2 international games on their schedule. Usually, when these international games really started, gaining speed, it was usually teams that weren't that good, or maybe trying to grow their following somehow. Think Jacksonville, teams like that. But I mean, these are the Niners who got to have 2 of these now. It's not good for them. I mean, that's cool. They're going to go. It's great for the league. They grow the game globally, but they're going to go play on a cricket field or a cricket ground, excuse me. And then it's just all this schedule. It's horrible for them. I feel bad for the Niners. It's not good for them. The Rams, I think this is their only international game. So they're probably just like, yeah, whatever. We're cool with it, I guess. And like Kyle Shanahan said, SoFi won't get taken over. But yeah, Otis Bird in the chat says, send the Jets to Australia. I agree. Send the Jets. And I don't know, the Cleveland Browns or something.
But that's not sexy for an Australian audience.
Does Australia know all the different football teams? Yeah, it's not sexy for they'll know that both those teams suck.
The NFL wants big time teams going and have a big time matchup. But you know what? Italy is in bed now with Cleveland. You see this? The Cleveland Browns. There's a whole marketing thing right now where the Browns have like a business venture with Italy. Of all the teams, I feel bad for God. Italy have to deal with the Cleveland Browns. Good Lord.
That's the dog pound's going to be showing up to Italy. That'll be fascinating. But yeah, for the Niners, it sucks for them. Friday in Australia, but a Thursday in the United States, just to get around that little piece of rules for the NFL. It's horrible. This was poorly planned. Why? This is one thing I don't understand. Why not have them play on the weekend? Why not have them play on a Sunday, right, later in the season, and have the game be broadcast on a Saturday for NFL audiences in the United States? Why couldn't they do that? I just
later in the season.
I understand why they put it in the front because they don't want the travel to affect everything late. I get that, but this just doesn't. It's not. Look, Australia. I hope you get your football fix. That's great, but logistically. This is not like the UFC going to Australia where it's one event and the next event's a month later. These guys have another game 8 days from now or 7.
I think that it will be one and done. I think that it's, good on paper for the league, but it's going to fuck over these 2 teams. 100%.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is to do it week 1 and get it out of the way. And then you can figure out your body clock situation after that. But it's not going to be great. And as far as the Mexico game, Mexico City, I should say, some people are suggesting it's going to be the Raiders and 49ers. Not the case. It will not be that because Matt Maiocco confirmed it to us. The Raiders have a huge Mexico City fan base, and the Niners don't want this to be a neutral site game, so they wanted to have the Mexico City fans to themselves. It sounds like it will be the Miami Dolphins. That's what Jennifer Lee Chan and Matt Maiocco are reporting, so be on the lookout for that. I think most likely that's going to be the matchup there. And as far as the Browns doing business with Italy, can you imagine that all these Italian fans analyzing Browns football? Like, what's the deal with the Shador Sanders? Shador Sanders not very good at football.
Shador don't play. Why don't he play?
Not very good. Deshaun Watson, he's a creep.
Deshaun Watson, you know what? Never mind.
Well, fair enough.
I was going to say, no, bad idea.
Fair enough. As far as other things that came out from the league meetings, are you a Hard Knocks guy, Alon, anymore?
No, not really. That got diluted for me. So you know what I do with Hard Knocks now? I just watch the clips. If something like really funny or interesting happens, I'll watch the clips. But I don't see. I think that quarterback show that Netflix ran a while ago was way better than Hard Knocks.
That's coming back. That's coming back this July. Can't wait for that. We'll see who the list is going to be as far as the quarterbacks this year. Hard Knocks has gone the same way as April Fools, where it's just not as exciting. But when it comes around, I'll watch it. But then again, I'm like, every year I'm so disappointed. But this year, it's going to be the Seattle Seahawks. The first time since the show started, like 27 years ago, when it was the Baltimore Ravens after they won their first Super Bowl with that elite defense. That's going to be where the defending champions are going to be on Hard Knocks. And the funny thing is, they usually don't announce well into, like years in advance who the Hard Knocks teams are going to be. But yeah, we get the Seahawks in 2026 and the Patriots in 2027. And I guess the reason for that is every NFL team always tells the league office, yeah, we'll do Hard Knocks next year, the year after that. And then I guess they asked the Patriots, and they said, "Yeah, we'll do it next year." Like, hey, we're holding it to you. We're going to announce it now. It's like, oh shit. I guess we will have to do it. So, also, this was interesting. Tim Kawakami brought this up on Twitter, where it was announced about the Seahawks and the Patriots back-to-back years will be your Hard Knocks, subjects. The 49ers have never done Hard Knocks. A lot of teams have done it. I can only think of like a handful of teams that have never been a part of it, but the 49ers have never been a part of it. And it's been well documented that Kyle Shanahan wants no part of it whatsoever. And Kawakami made a whole, or not a whole thing, but he posted on Twitter saying, you ever wonder why the 49ers have these road trips to start the season where it's week 1 and week 2 on the road? They have to go to Australia. Sometimes you have to play ball with the league. And when they ask you to do Hard Knocks, you're going to do Hard Knocks, or they force you to do other shit. So, yeah. What would you rather do? Like, if you're Kyle Shanahan, would you rather just do Hard Knocks and have cameras all over your practice facility and interrupting your practice, or just deal with a 19-hour trip to Australia and potentially have that fuck up your season?
Australia all day. We're going
Really?
to the beach. We're having fun. We're going on a group trip. We're seeing the great sights in Melbourne. We're not, Hard Knocks. You ain't coming to the facility. I'm sorry. Just not dealing with that. I got a week of bull crap to deal with going to Australia, or I get a whole summer of bull crap to deal with Hard Knocks. I'd rather take the week.
No, I hear you on that one. And if you are regimented as a head coach, and most of them are having that and have to do those little, testimonials to the film crew with NFL Films, it gets tedious. So, yeah, I totally understand that.
If real quick, Derek, if Deion
go for it.
Sanders ever became a coach in the NFL,
it's time for prime, baby. Hard Knocks.
he would sign up for it. He said, "Oh yeah, we'll
It's
do
a
Hard
Knock life."
we'll do Hard Knocks next year and the year after."
Oh, he would love it.
Play
But
my music.
I don't know if Deion Sanders is ever going to be a head coach in the NFL, because I do wonder about him now that Shador and Travis Hunter are gone. I do wonder about him as a head coach in college football.
He still turned them around.
He turned them around with his charisma and charm, but he had talent. It's not as talented as it used to be.
No, that's very true. And we'll see. But if he ever came to the NFL, Derek,
he'd be all over it.
Deion Sanders being the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, or God forbid, the Cowboys, right? And I think the Niners are cool with Shanahan, so I'm not going to throw that one out there. But the other two teams, him at the Star, right, every day, and Hard Knocks is there with him. Oh, I would watch that Hard Knocks every year.
Well, you know what? I'll be perfectly honest. I'm disappointed that it's the Seahawks this year, because I wanted to see Hard Knocks with the Chargers. I wanted to see Jim Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel, their partnership together.
You want to see two football weirdos interact?
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, absolutely. The Chargers do a good job with social media clips, so we'll get enough of that, like mic'd up practices, but that would have been really good on HBO.
Oh yeah. No, it would have been great to see Harbaugh be his self, and then Mike McDaniel be his goofy self, and then I would love to watch that interaction. That would actually be amazing. Yeah, no, you're right there. That's TV gold. That's why you're in the business, baby.
Real quick, I want to get to this story, because this came out today from Jeremy Fowler, and there's been rumblings that many people in the Philadelphia Eagles organization are not happy with Jalen Hurts and his regression as a quarterback and his inability to grow as a quarterback and have more complex things in the scheme with the offense, having a lot of, misdirection stuff at the line of scrimmage. Not a fan of that stuff. And it's kind of led to the dysfunction between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, or just A.J. Brown with the team in general. So this came out today from Jeremy Fowler. The article is phrased that Jalen Hurts is at a crossroads with the Philadelphia Eagles. And some of the bullet points from the article: he's pushed back on going under center. He's shown reluctance to let it rip at times during, especially against zone coverage. Diverts the game plan and changes play calls to an excessive degree. Can't read my own handwriting sometimes. Has issues with the scheme being complex and having movement at the line of scrimmage. A team source said he has bad body language, not always bought in, not the most coachable player, and the players notice it. So I want to get your thoughts on this, Alon, because Jalen Hurts obviously had his time with Alabama, got benched in the playoff or the benched in the national championship game. Tua comes in, goes to Oklahoma. He has been better than I anticipated at the NFL level, going to the Super Bowl twice and winning it. But can't say that I'm surprised with everything that's gone on in recent years with the Eagles that this stuff is coming out.
Really weird story, because we know that Jalen Hurts, from everything we've been able to observe, is a hell of a leader, plays his heart out, does all those things. We never think of him as a guy, especially coming from like the Saban tree and then even at Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley. Like, we don't think of those kinds of guys being guys who like push back against the head coach or offensive coordinator. But yeah, reading that report, like, here's a quote: did not always embrace schemes pushed forward by Kellen Moore, including pushback against motions and shifts. Like, what is that? That doesn't make any sense to me. You're trying to win football games. You're trying to be as effective as possible. I get it, Jalen. You want to have some input on what you're doing, and you feel like there's certain skills that you can use that are better suited, but you won a Super Bowl, and you won a Super Bowl probably because the coaches put you in a good position to win, and you executed. We've kind of been dancing around this for the entire offseason so far, Derek. I don't understand what's happening in Philadelphia at all. I don't understand why there's dysfunction. I don't understand why Jalen Hurts is kind of malcontent with some of the things going on there. I still don't understand the A.J. Brown. So I don't understand anything that happens in an organization. They seem to do everything right. They're winning, but their offense fell off a cliff this past year, as I think you just saw the Sharks. But
yeah, we'll get to that. Hang on. Yeah,
their offense fell off a cliff. I mean, they went from being top 10 in points scored the last 4 or 5 years to all of a sudden being almost number 20 in the NFL. So, and it didn't look good. It wasn't like, oh, there was bad luck or some turnovers here. No, it just looked bad. It looked stagnant and bad. I don't get it. Maybe it's time for Jalen Hurts to kind of be a mercenary quarterback, where he's just like, maybe I'm done with the Eagles and I go somewhere. Maybe they're done with him. I don't know. I don't really want to see that for him. I think Jalen's a hell of a player. I really like him as a player. I think he's a great person too. But this is not good. And this is a red flag for other teams wanting to bring him in too at any other point in his career. They're going to say, what the hell is this? Like, I don't want to be installing an offense and then have you say, hey, we can't have motions. Like, that's just football. Like, you don't just line up in the shotgun, keep everything static, or in the pistol, and there we go. Motioning and these kinds of things are part of modern. They've always been part of football.
No, 100%. Hang on one second, Alon. Just want to celebrate this real quick because we're definitely into what's going on with the Sharks, San Jose Sharks, and can they push towards the playoffs? Huge win just wrapped up right now. They were down 2-1 in the third period. Macklin Celebrini ties it up 2-2. They're losing 3-2. And then in the last 2 minutes, Macklin Celebrini gets a goal to tie it up. And then with 31 seconds left, Alex Wenberg gets the game-winning goal. In the style of Randy Wynn, Sharks win! Sharks win! The Sharks have won. That is Randy huge. Win. And we're going to the tank on Monday. Dirty work is. So can't wait for that. It'd be very exciting if they make the postseason here. And Macklin Celebrini's been unbelievable. So good for the Sharks tonight. Give them that 4-3 win over the Ducks. Awesome. Okay. As far as Jalen Hurts.
Randy Hahn, Derek. Randy Hahn.
What did I say? Randy Wynn? My bad.
I don't know who Randy Wynn is, but I like him.
Baseball player.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, sorry, Randy Hahn.
I was thinking of broadcasters. I was like, I don't know who this Randy Wynn character is.
The great Randy Hahn. And earlier this year, he had an unbelievable call when the Sharks came back against the Penguins. They were down 5-1 in the third period and won that game. His call was unbelievable, where it was just like emphatic, Sharks win! Sharks win! It was fantastic. Everybody on that broadcast team's been fantastic this year. Drew Remenda, Dan Ruzanowski, and of course, Randy Hahn. Okay, Jalen Hurts. He's definitely not been the same quarterback since 2022. And I always thought that the Eagles' offense is basic. It really is. They had an unbelievable running attack with Saquon Barkley 2 years ago. And their offensive line, fantastic for many, many years, going from Jason Kelce to, I think it's Cam Jurgens now as their center. And always Lane Johnson there at right tackle. But their passing offense hasn't been great. And yes, the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts was MVP and he put on a show. But even before that, the passing numbers weren't fantastic, and we knew that AJ Brown was pissed off. Reading a book during a playoff game. But hey, they're winning. They're going to the Super Bowl, so it's all fine. This year, everything just blew up. And when you have problems and you can get over, you can get all past that when you're winning games. It's fine for one season, but let's be real. Nick Sirianni, he's not the type of coach that can fix problems when it comes to personalities. Like, what they're missing really is leadership from Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey. There are no leaders on that team, really. Yes, there's Lane Johnson and other guys, but the truth is they got by just based off of talent 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. Now it's all of the controversies just coming into play, and it really is Jalen Hurts not developing as a quarterback. And in this league, you got to have a lot of things going on the line of scrimmage. You got to have complex schemes. Most quarterbacks are able to run that stuff. Jalen Hurts has shown a reluctance to really grow the offense here. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Sean Mannion coming over from a Matt LaFleur type of offense with Green Bay. So could it be a Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan type of scheme? Most likely. And Jalen Hurts needs to be receptive towards that. And that's where Nick Sirianni kind of needs to light a fighter on his ass, being like, dude, we can't have this basic 4 verticals type of offense that you see in Madden. Like, we need to run misdirections at the line of scrimmage. We need to have a lot of things that divert your attention away from the defense. Like, I want to run a Shanahan scheme. It got us napping in the playoff game where Juwan Jennings throws that touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey. We need more of that shit. So I'm not surprised by any of this, because this has definitely been a problem with Jalen Hurts. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. They're hanging on to Tanner McKee, and they got Andy Dalton. This might be a make-or-break season for Jalen Hurts, the same way that we saw this offseason the Arizona Cardinals say goodbye to Kyler Murray, or the Miami Dolphins say goodbye to Tua Tagovailoa. You've seen it where a lot of teams don't care about the dead cap hit. And it could be where, yeah, Jalen Hurts, you won Super Bowl MVP, but we're not really that high on you, man. And honestly, if you're asking me, like, should the Philadelphia Eagles trade away A.J. Brown? Absolutely not. If I'm Howie Roseman, I hang on to A.J. Brown for one more year, and then I decide that next offseason, do I want to keep A.J. Brown, or do I want to keep Jalen Hurts? Do I rather get a quarterback that can just explode in this offense with Devontae Smith and Saquon Barkley, or A.J. Brown? Or do I want to get rid of A.J. Brown? I'd rather have A.J. Brown than Jalen Hurts at this point. You can find other quarterbacks that would run this offense to an unbelievable level that Jalen Hurts is not capable of. And that might be the truth right now, where we're seeing his limitations. As he is gifted as a quarterback, but can he be willing to go the extra mile? I don't want to sound mean here as far as to say like Jalen Hurts is dumb, because he's not, but intellectually, can you get to the point where you are comfortable with Jalen Hurts running the scheme, where he's shown that he doesn't want it to be too complex? Well, why not, Jalen? Why not? Like, this is the way NFL teams run their offenses. So, again, I don't want to say that he's not capable of it, just he needs to show a willingness to do that. So, yeah, if I'm A.J. Brown, I understand why he's upset. Like, it's clear the last year that he has an issue with the guy, whether it is his study habits or his unwillingness to make the offense better, or what he's seeing on the football field. But it's starting to show a little bit why A.J. Brown is upset. And, I don't love it when the football season's going on and A.J. Brown doesn't get his touches and they're winning games. That's annoying to me. But it's becoming clear that it's more than just A.J. Brown being upset with the lack of productivity on his level. It's the fact that he knows this offense can be electric, and Jalen Hurts is holding them back. That's the truth. So if I'm Howie Roseman, I mean, none of the, like, Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie did nothing these last couple of days to say that they're definitely keeping A.J. Brown. The slogan that's been going on the last 3 days has been, A.J. Brown's a Philadelphia Eagle. Now, you could just say, we're not trading him. He's going to be on this football team post June 1st, but they chose not to do that. So I still think it's a strong possibility that he is traded to the New England Patriots at that point. But if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, this is a make or break season for Jalen Hurts.
It is. We'll see how he gets along with Sean Mannion. Definitely cannot have multiple years of that in a row. I anticipate that he will do everything in his power, because this is a bad narrative to have around you, right? This is a really bad narrative to have around you professionally, not just around this year, but going forward in the rest of your career, especially when you've been a successful quarterback. It's not like Jalen Hurts has been a scrub. He's been really good. But he's led them to wins, or maybe they've won in spite of him sometimes. But you can't question the results that the Eagles have had since installing him as a starting quarterback. But yeah, if you want to truly evolve and keep, winning another Super Bowl or staying in that, contention window, he's going to need to step up, and he's going to have to absorb everything that Mannion says like a sponge. That's just the reality of it. I agree with you that Nick Sirianni is not that guy who's going to be able to straighten out and hammer out all the problems in that locker room. That's unfortunate for Nick Sirianni. Doesn't mean he's a bad head coach, just means that that's not his forte. And they maybe do lack some of that leadership. So I think Ernie said it in the chat, the Eagles are a functionally dysfunctional organization. And it's so true. It's just what it is. So, Hurts, Pat H puts Hurts has pushed back on changes that would diversify the scheme, sources said, including when it comes to him going under center more. Yeah,
that's from the article. Yeah,
that's directly from the article. And it's true. I don't blame him if he doesn't want to be under center. That's something he really never had to do really throughout his collegiate career, and very sparingly, unless it's tush push in Philadelphia. But there's other things, the just technical side of how an offense works, motions and the different schemes and the different types of things they're asking him to do outside of the things he normally does. He needs to be able to adapt to that. So yeah, make or break year, not for him career-wise, but for him with the Eagles for sure. Otherwise, you're looking at a situation where he becomes kind of like Dante Culpepper, except with the Super Bowl, where the team trades him away or something like that, and tries to get assets back and plan for a future because they think they have everything else in place. So I'd be hard pressed to say that they're at that point yet, but Jalen he needs to disrupt this narrative. He needs to come out. He needs to show, because I think he can do it. He needs to show what he is capable of beyond the things that we've already seen him do. And if he's not willing to do that, that's fine. It doesn't mean he's a bad player. Doesn't mean, like you said, doesn't mean he's not intelligent. He is. Clearly, you have to be to play quarterback in the NFL. It just means that he doesn't want to do all these bells and whistle kind of stuff, and he just wants to run his pistol or shotgun offense the way he wants to run it. That's fine. Maybe the Eagles just aren't down with that anymore. One thing I'll say, you can't take away, and I know you weren't doing this, and I know the article wasn't doing it, but you can't take away the fact that this seems to be a lingering issue with the Eagles overall through success and failure. They fired Doug Peterson after they won the Super Bowl 2 years later. I understand why they did it. They were people calling for Nick Sirianni's head, because of the way they performed this past season. So there's something in that organization, even when they're successful, that has everybody else at each other's necks. And this could just be the next domino in that saga. I believe the reporting, but this seems to me like there definitely is some type of leadership issue. For some reason, they can't be settled down, and it hasn't been over about the past 8 years.
Well, let's be real. I think it's really the fan base, because that town is vicious when that team doesn't win. Yeah. So, but also, yes, it's with the organization. It's with Doug Peterson being an aggressive coach with his fourth down decisions, but really, it's where we've seen it in 2 stops now. He kind of threw his quarterbacks under the bus with Carson Wentz and Trevor Lawrence, and he couldn't develop either of them. I don't want to make it seem like I was saying that Jalen Hurts is not intellectually capable of running an offense.
You weren't saying that.
No. I know that. It's just when you say he pushed back on more complex stuff with the offense, then why is that happening, Jalen? Like, you should want to grow more as a quarterback where all of these guys are running complex schemes. You got to do that too, man. You can't just have it where we're going to win it based off of talent. No, the scheme has to be on the same level as the Rams, the 49ers, and all these high-powered offenses. It can't just be because you have the best athletes on the field. No, you can fool defenses by, more play action with Saquon Barkley or just more creative stuff, not just 4 verticals all the time. And apparently Jalen was the guy that called 4 verticals in the playoff game against the 49ers. And maybe Kevin Petula was a better coach than we all, knew. It was just that Jalen Hurts had a bad season. That could be the case as well. So I don't know. I think that to your comparison with Dante Culpepper, I think that's an organization that made a move too soon where they traded away Randy Moss and kept Dante Culpepper. Look how that turned out. So I wonder if it is where Jalen Hurts just has a lot of talent around him, and he himself is not the best quarterback. We shall see. But I do believe this is a make or break season for the Eagles. Okay, real quick before we get out of here, I want to bring this up. Today on April 1st is the last day, or yesterday was the last day. Today's the first day where NFL Network is owned by Disney and ESPN. And that's a move that me and Steven talked about. And as a guy that worked at NFL Network for 3 seasons, I love that network. I've been watching it since I was a kid, grew up on Rich Eisen and NFL Total Access. I learned how to be a football fan from watching that channel. I learned the history of the game, everything, the year in reviews, in their own words, the America's games, the football lives. I love that channel. And I'm sad to see it be something totally different now. I don't know what it's going to become, but with ESPN owning it, I don't know what it's going to be. Like, it's going to be weird where cats and dogs living together with Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter working together. Like, I can't imagine that because those guys hate each other. Like, they can act like all cordial and everything now, but that group of the insiders, Garofalo, Pelissero, those guys can't stand Schefter. So that's gonna be very interesting to see how that goes, going forward. I heard Rich Eisen on his show talk about how I never thought that I'd be working for ESPN, get laid off by them, then work at NFL Network and go back to ESPN. It's just a weird deal. So I don't love this as a guy that loved that channel. And I'll say this too. Being at that network for 3 seasons, it was clear they were fighting against ESPN all the time. I remember when there were going to be league officials coming to the network the year of the Super Bowl, where it was going to be across the street at SoFi. They told us, please do not have your TVs on ESPN. Do not have that because we are competing with them and we want to show that everybody's kind of locked in to our network. We have the best NFL coverage. And then it's disheartening when Roger Goodell openly says, I think that our NFL Network coverage has been subpar and ESPN is vastly superior. And then they showed that by doing the deal with ESPN. And I thought it was lame yesterday. I saw this where it was the last few minutes of the Insider Show with Rappaport, Judy Battista, Tom Pelissero, Garofalo. Roger Goodell joins them and says, you guys did an amazing job. You guys, this is just the next step for you all. And you all are going to learn from ESPN and grow. And I'm like, that's lame. That really is lame because you basically told them they're not good enough. And now you want them to be all in on what this next iteration of NFL Network will be. And don't get it twisted. I've seen a lot of people get fired through the years from that network. It's going to happen more now where ESPN doesn't want to have, conflicting, contributors, whether it's Daniel Jeremiah competing against like Mel Kiper. Like, I don't know how it's going to look. I have no idea, but there will be layoffs. I'm pretty sure there will be. So, yeah, this is just me going on my soapbox and my rant because I love the NFL Network, and I just hate the fact that it's turned into this ESPN entity that probably won't be the same.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same. I grew up watching NFL Network. I remember, when Rich Eisen basically anchored every major show, NFL Total Access every day on there. I mean, the coverage of the NFL was far superior to ESPN, and ESPN used to have good NFL coverage. They still do have decent NFL coverage, but the place ESPN, at least the perception that they outrank the NFL Network when it comes to NFL, it's the talk and it's the hot take kind of bull crap that I'm not a fan of. I know you're not either. And a lot of people aren't. Look, ESPN's had their own programming problems and problems trying to right their own ship. So I don't know how this is going to improve the NFL Network. I wish NFL Network went back to kind of their bread and butter, being real nerdy about football. I don't need them to have, and look, I get the AM kind of show. You want to have it a little lighter and stuff like, Get Up, kind of that style, but Good Morning Football or whatever it's called. But
Yeah.
No, it's just not my cup of tea. I watch sometimes NFL Total Access or some of the free agency frenzy stuff or combine stuff and then draft, but that's about it. I'm not tuning in the way I used to around the clock because and I don't for ESPN either because I can get the same information on the internet just reading it faster. And I don't like that or on YouTube sometimes because I don't like how not nerdy about football the NFL network has become. I also don't like Roger Goodell going in there and being like, you guys are going to learn a lot. Learn a lot. They're at the NFL network. This is what they live and breathe. They know what they're talking about. Take the duct tape off, take the straitjacket off and let them be the NFL network that they used to be and that they show they still can be. I think you can have a balance of personality and real in-depth football coverage with the NFL network the way you used to have it. You don't have to emulate ESPN. I mean, that's what's going to happen now because it's now part of Disney, but I don't know. I liked it when it was the NFL's in-house product. I liked everything about that. I think it's better when it's separate that way. I think ESPN can do what they do and NFL Network can do what they do. It's not my favorite. It's not my cup of tea now. And I don't know how much I'm going to tune into it aside from certain broadcasts and things like that. I will say I wish Mike Mayock was still at that network full time because I would love to see him and Mel Kiper on the draft show together.
God, can you imagine, dude?
I would have loved to see Mike
Mel
Mayock
versus
be like,
Mike.
Oh yeah, Mike be like, oh, this guy's a really good player and he's just a hard-nosed guy. And then Mel coming in and be like, I'll tell you why you're wrong, Mike. Mike, he ruined it. He didn't do well in coverage. He's 3 plays in a row. And it would just be like, oh, this is gold. I'd love that. But that's not what we're gonna get. We're just gonna get more ESPN. So what does this mean? Every NFL show on NFL Network now is going to look like that show that Laura Rutledge hosts. I mean, that's fine.
NFL Live,
NFL Live is fine, but like, it's not come on. Are people watching that because, oh man, I'm really learning a lot about the NFL when I watch that? No, I mean, you're watching it because it's about the NFL and it's kind of interesting and you get some commentary, but like, it's not that in depth. It's not.
No. Yesterday I saw Rich Eisen talk about this and he kind of related to the NFL Network is, we're going to college now. And I was like, I mean, I know you have to say that. You have to act like this is a good thing, but it's not a good thing. I think that the insiders are putting on a smile and everything for the cameras, but they know they may lose their jobs because Schefter reigns supreme when it comes to the NFL news breaking game. And I haven't watched NFL Network as religiously as I did in the past. And Otis Bird says here, yeah, NFL Network was better about 10 to 15 years ago when they did their own thing. Absolutely. 20 years ago when that network started and you had NFL Total Access. Like I talk about this all the time with our guy Alexander Scott and Steven. I learned so much from watching NFL Network, and I don't think kids want to learn anymore. It's not the same. Or like America's games, you learned all about the Super Bowl champions. NFL films, you learned about the history of the game. Now our attention spans suck, and kids don't care about their history. So we're just going to focus on the now. When I went to NFL Network, it was not the same. They did not prioritize the history of the game. It was all about takes and all of those shows. Total Access hasn't been a good show in quite some time. So maybe it's just me bitching about I want NFL Network to be what I grew up with, and it's not that. NFL Total Access is not even a show anymore. They canceled that. So I don't know what to expect. I just wish that we were able to teach kids and people like me from back in the day how the game came to be. Like I don't think that the NBA TV or MLB Network don't care about that stuff. NFL Network did. And I'm just sad to see it go away where I have no idea what the network's going to become. So I guess rest in peace to NFL Network with ESPN taking over. It's still going to be there, but not the same product that you and I grew up with, Alon.
No, it's not. And part of me wonders is not just on the NFL's behalf, but definitely on ESPN's behalf. Do they think all NFL fans are stupid, or the majority of them are? Because that's why these shows are structured the way they are sometimes. Is I think the networks go, people don't want to get that in depth about things. So I think, like you're saying, and there's that dynamic of maybe people don't want to learn as much as they used to, especially young people. That could be the case as well. But look, I go watch ESPN's college football coverage, whether it's on ESPN, ESPN2, or on SEC Network or the other league networks. They do a damn good job still of that. And it doesn't treat me like I'm an idiot. They actually talk about things. It's not just hot take machine.
Yeah.
And so much of the ESPN NFL coverage is just that hot take machine. And it to me, that signals that the network goes, here's some slop. These guys are dumb. Here you go. And if that's the case, then so be it. That's the kind of coverage we're going to get on network television.
I mean, that's been the case in sports media for a long time now. Like there's been a shift from when you and I were growing up and we used to watch what ESPN used to do back in the day. It's the first takeification of sports. You and I worked in sports radio. We worked at 95.7 The Game together. We saw it there. It's clear that there is a mentality. Like, people love football, but when it comes to the suits, they'll tell you, we don't want it to be where we're talking X's and O's. And I never understand that, because you love the game so much, but yet you don't want to like make your audience smarter. I never understood that. Never understood that, where in baseball, it's all about like, well, the pitcher there threw, a curveball or splitter, but yet but in football, you talk about like a zone blitz. People are like, whoa, you're losing me here. What the hell are you talking about? So I can't stand that. I heard it at NFL Network. I heard it at the old radio station, where you got to dumb it down for the audience, and I hate that shit. I loved that for a long time. NFL Network was vastly superior to that of ESPN, and now we're gonna get, as you said, Alon, the same slop. So is what it is.
Yeah, it's sad, but yeah, hey, everybody in here, we don't, whether you're in the chat or just watching, we don't treat you guys like, we don't hand you slop. We think you're intelligent, and that's why we give you our real opinions. Yeah,
I mean, dude, like, you're seeing it now on social media more. Greg Cosell's extremely popular because he breaks it down. There is an audience for X's and O's talk. It's just for whatever reason on radio and television, people are like, no, dumb it down for the audience. Anyway, that's my spiel for tonight. And Alon's as well. We'll see you guys back on Sunday. Anything else you want to say, Alon? Anything else you want to get to?
Oh, I wanted to mention, I saw this. I guess it was the first time in baseball history yesterday that every team in the league had won a game in the month of March.
Oh, there you go. Because the A's, they played the Braves?
They played the Braves and they beat them. They lost today, and San Francisco obviously off to a slow start as well. I think 2-4 now after this Padres series, how that's going. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting note. Then again, just because baseball's been around so long, so maybe. But every team didn't always play in this early or late in March, so there's a little caveat there.
No, definitely. All right. Thanks, everybody in the chat tonight. Thanks to Ernie 1. And you're right, Ernie. Yes, Baldy and Tend to Win. They break it down better than anybody. AJ Cruz, Otis Bird is the word. Pat H. We'll see you at the patio, Pat H, on Friday. Mac Van, what's going on? I said AJ Cruz, right? Rocket New Era for a little bit of time. He does like the football talk, so he left. Skills report. And I believe that is it. All right, everybody. We will see you guys on Sunday. Alon, say what you always say, my friend.
Hey, you might think that you might be out there thinking ESPN is really going to elevate NFL coverage here with NFL Network, but that's just your opinion, man.